The park was alive with laughter and bright colors. Balloons tied to folding chairs bobbed in the gentle breeze. Children ran from table to table, their faces painted like tigers and butterflies. Parents watched with tired smiles as volunteers offered refreshments and small toys. At the center of it all stood Marcus Bell, the millionaire philanthropist, whose deep pockets had made today's event possible. He wore a crisp white shirt and dark pants, looking every bit the part of a generous benefactor. But for all his wealth and confidence, he carried a quiet longing in his eyes, hope that his money could bring real joy to children who had faced hard times. Marcus greeted each family with a friendly nod or a quick handshake, asking about their needs and listening to their worries. He believed in more than just handing out gifts. He wanted to know the stories behind each child's smile. As he moved through the crowd, a small line formed near a table covered in shiny bicycles. Volunteers explained that each child could choose a bike, their first real ride in months, perhaps years. Faces lit up with excitement as kids picked helmets and posed with their new treasures. Marcus felt a warm glow in his chest, imagining the freedom these bikes would give freedom to explore, to feel the wind on their cheeks, to forget their troubles for a little while. At the end of the line stood a little girl clutching a worn teddy bear. Her hair was tied back in neat braids, and she wore a simple dress that had seen better days. Her cheeks were dirty from playing in the park's dusty grass, and her eyes held a sadness that tugged at Marcus's heart. He knelt down beside her and smiled. "Which bike do you like, sweetheart?" he asked in a gentle voice. The girl looked up at him, her big brown eyes shining with hope. She pointed to a bright blue bike with a basket in front. It had a shiny bell that rang with a cheerful tone. "That one," she murmured. A volunteer stepped forward to adjust the seat height. The bike's tires were pumped full of air, ready for the first ride. Marcus watched as the volunteer handed the girl a matching helmet, its straps dangling. He offered to tighten it for her. She tilted her head, letting him click the buckle snug under her chin. He stood up and stepped back to give her space. Just as the volunteer pushed the bike forward for her to catch the pedals, the girl held up a small hand. She looked at Marcus with an unexpected seriousness. "I don't want money," she said, her voice steady though soft. She squeezed her teddy bear tighter. "I want my mom." Marcus froze, his smile fading. The park's noise seemed to dim. Around him, children's laughter, parents chatting, volunteers calling out instructions, all of it faded into silence in his mind. He stared at the girl, trying to understand. He looked at her pale eyes, so full of longing that they broke his long heart. He knelt again, this time more gently, and met her gaze. "Tell me about your mom," he said softly. The little girl's lip trembled. She blinked back tears she did not let fall. "She used to take me to the park," she whispered. "We shared ice cream and laughed. She told me stories about me. Growing up to be brave." She paused, biting her bottom lip. "She was strong. She said she would always be with me. But she went away. I don't know where she is." She shook her head, as if remembering a painful dream. "I want her." Marcus's chest tightened. He saw so many children today, each with their own need. But none had spoken so plainly. None had asked for something money could not buy. He thought of his own life, of the emptiness he sometimes felt, despite his fortune. He had built businesses and donated to charities, but he had never faced a moment like this. He reached out and placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. The bike's basket swung low, and the volunteer waited patiently, sensing this was no ordinary bike-giving moment. "Your wish means more than any gift I can give," Marcus said, his voice thick. He stood and looked around. The park was still, busy, but he barely saw it. His attention was fixed on the little girl. He took a deep breath. "I want to help find your mom," he said. The words surprised him as much as they surprised her. In the silence that followed, the girl's eyes grew wide. It was the first flicker of hope Marcus had seen since she spoke. A volunteer cleared his throat and stepped forward. "Sir, we can give her a bike later," he began, but Marcus shook his head. "No," Marcus said firmly. "We'll come back for the bike." He turned to the girl. "Right now, I'm going to make sure you see your mom again." "Oh, you." "Let me try." The little girl looked from Marcus to the volunteer and back again. She studied his face, searching for any sign of a lie. Then slowly, she nodded. Her lip quivered, and she hugged her teddy bear close. "Okay," she said, her voice very small. Marcus felt something shift inside him. He looked down at his own hands, hands used to signing checks and shaking deals, and saw they could do more. He saw he had the power to change someone's life in a deeper way. Around them, the park carried on, a father balancing his toddler. Friends playing tag, music drifting from a small speaker. But for Marcus and the little girl, nothing else mattered. He felt a strength he had not known before, and he vowed silently that he would not let her down. He rose and offered his hand. To the volunteer, "Thank you," he said quietly. "Please set that bike aside." Then he turned toward the path leading out of the park. The little girl followed, clutching her teddy bear with both hands. Her steps were hesitant, but brave. Marcus watched her small figure in her simple dress and felt a fierce protectiveness. He did not yet know how he would find her mother, but he knew he would use every resource at his disposal, his people, his money, his time, because she had asked for something priceless: love, family, home. As they reached the park's edge, the girl paused and looked up at Marcus. "Thank you," she whispered. He knelt and smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. "We're just getting started," he said. She nodded, clutching his hand. Together, they stepped onto the sidewalk, leaving the bright balloons and laughter behind. Marcus felt a resolve settle over him, to do more than give toys or bikes, to bring back what was missing, to heal a little girl's wounded heart. And as the sun dipped toward the horizon, he knew his life, his purpose had changed forever. Marcus spent the car ride home thinking about the little girl's words. Her simple wish felt more urgent than any charity event he had ever planned. When he arrived at his sleek high-rise apartment, he barely noticed the polished marble floors or the sweeping city views. All he could see was the image of her eyes, shining with hope and fear. He set down his briefcase, kicked off his dress shoes, and paced the living room. He felt restless, as if his heart had been awakened from a long sleep. He settled at his desk, switched on his computer, and opened the files from today's event. One by one, he reviewed the names of the children and their backgrounds. He found the little girl listed as Lily Chen. A caseworker had noted that she lived in foster care after her mother disappeared. There was an address for the foster home, but no records about her mother's fate. Marcus stared at the blank space where more information should be. He clicked through the Child Welfare Agency's website and frowned at the lack of detail. He wondered how many more files he would see with missing pieces like this. Late into the night, Marcus made phone calls. He reached the agency's main line and asked to speak to someone who knew Lily's case well. A tired voice answered and connected him to Sarah, a social worker. Sarah sounded exhausted but polite. Marcus asked gentle questions. "Me, when Mrs. Chen was last seen? Do you know why she left? Is there any ongoing search?" Sarah hesitated at each question. She explained that Mei Chen had been reported missing after she failed to return to her job. No one knew if she left deliberately or if something bad happened. The agency had limited funds in many cases. They closed some searches when they ran out of leads. Marcus felt a pang of frustration. He was used to solving problems. Money, connections, and a drive to act usually did the trick. But here, in the world of lost parents and broken families, bureaucratic limits meant children like Lily waited too long for help. He asked Sarah for permission to assist directly. She agreed but cautioned that it could take time. Marcus thanked her and ended the call. His phone read 3 in the morning. He rubbed his eyes and felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. The next day, he arranged a meeting with his personal assistant, Carla. He explained Lily's story and asked for a team to begin a private search for Mei Chen. Carla raised an eyebrow. "You're serious, Marcus?" she asked softly. "This isn't one of your regular charity projects." He nodded, gathering his coat. "I want to find her mom, no matter what it takes." Carla paused, then offered her support. "I'll assemble a small team, private investigators, volunteers, anyone you need." Marcus felt gratitude and relief wash over him. He trusted Carla to pick the right people. Within a few days, Marcus's team was ready. They included 2 former police detectives turned private investigators, a data analyst, and a volunteer who knew the city's neighborhoods. Well, Marcus provided them with Lily's basic information, her last known address, her mother's workplace, the date she vanished. He told them to start with public records, security footage, and neighborhood interviews. The team set up shop in a small, rented office near the foster home. Marcus visited once to drop off fresh coffee and meet the investigators. He saw maps and notes pinned to corkboards, lines drawn between dates and places. He felt a thrill of hope, mixed with anxiety. Meanwhile, Lily continued her daily routine at the foster home. She woke early, dressed in neat clothes, and ate breakfast with other children. Her teddy bear sat on her pillow, waiting for her return each night. At school, she tried to focus on her lessons, but often stared out the window, dreaming of her mom. She missed the warmth of her mother's arms and the sound of her voice telling bedtime stories. After school, she went to the group play area and asked the caregivers simple questions. "Do you know where my mom is?" They answered kindly, but had no new news. Lily swallowed her disappointment and smiled. She did not want to worry anyone. Instead, she wrote another letter to her mother and pinned it to her wall. Back at the office, the investigators gathered clues. They learned that May had worked at a small bakery 6 months ago. She left abruptly, and her supervisor said she seemed worried. Security cameras near the bakery recorded her talking on the phone late one evening before she vanished. The footage showed her boarding a bus outside the city. The investigators traced the bus to a small town 3 hours away. The trail went cold there, but a volunteer suggested checking local shelters and community centers. Marcus approved the search, sending his team out with photographs of May and basic details. Over the next week, the team traveled to the town. They visited shelters, showed May's photo, asked residents if they had seen her. No one recognized her face. In a rundown motel, the clerk remembered a woman with a little girl who stayed one night. They had cooked simple meals in the room's small kitchenette. Could it have been May with Lily? The clerk was unsure, but led the investigators to a nearby playground where the mother and daughter might have played. The investigators found a small drawing of a house stuck under a bench. It looked like a child's drawing. They took it as a sign and sent it to Marcus. Marcus studied the drawing, showed a house with a red roof, a tree, and a smiling stick figure mother holding a child's hand. He wondered if Lily made that drawing during a moment of imagination. He called Carla and asked her to contact Sarah, the social worker, to confirm if the drawing matched Lily's style. Sarah said Lily loved to draw trees and little houses. Marcus closed his eyes. Perhaps he held the first true lead, he arranged, to send a volunteer to the town to search for a house matching the drawing. Back at the foster home, Lily sensed a change. The social worker Sarah told her someone was searching for her mother with new energy. Lily's heart pounded. She hugged her teddy bear and whispered, "Please find her." That night she slept fitfully, dreaming of her mother's return. In the dreams, her mother smiled and waved from the doorway. Lily tried to run toward her, but she woke before the embrace. Meanwhile, Marcus's team tracked down the volunteer to the town. "I found an elderly man who owned a small red-roofed house with a big tree in front. The man had no record of ever hosting a mother and daughter, but he remembered footsteps and laughter. One afternoon that sounded like a child's, he gave the volunteer an old comic strip that he found near the tree. It showed a mother and child, holding hands. The volunteer took a photo and sent it to Marcus. It was not proof, but it filled Marcus with cautious optimism. Marcus called Sarah again and shared the findings. Sarah said she would arrange for Lily's records to be updated with the new notes. Lily was excited to hear the search was moving forward. She asked to speak with Marcus. He arranged a video call to her foster home, surprising her with his smiling face on the screen. Lily's eyes shone when she saw him. She asked, voice trembling. Marcus nodded, We have new clues and we're following them. Lily's shoulders relaxed and she hugged her teddy. Thank you, she whispered. Marcus promised her he would keep trying until they found her. Mother, as days turned into another week, the investigators returned to the city to follow more leads. They searched records at the bus station, checked loans and bank accounts, and found a small deposit made to May's old bank account. The deposit came from a shelter in another nearby town. The team rushed there and found a logbook with her name. The shelter staff recalled a tall woman with tired eyes and a small girl, but they left quietly one morning. They had taken new names. To avoid trouble, the staff gave the investigators a phone number for someone the pair called Uncle John. That afternoon, Marcus met with Carla and the team in his apartment. They showed him the shelter's logbook entry and the phone number. Marcus felt his chest tighten with hope. He dialed the number and heard a man's voice answer hesitantly. Marcus explained who he was and asked about May and Lily. The man confirmed he had met them, but did not know where they went next. He said he would reach out if he heard anything. Marcus thanked him and ended the call, counted the hours until he could hear more. Late that night, the investigator who had led the search called Marcus. She spoke with excitement. "We found something," she said. "A restaurant owner in another town saw them 2 weeks ago. He remembers because the mother left her coat behind and came back the next day to get it. He gave us her coat and said she cried when she picked it up." Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. He told the team to get coordinates for that restaurant. He would drive there first thing in the morning, as he closed his laptop and prepared for a few hours of sleep. Marcus thought of the little girl's brave words. She asked not for money, but for her mom. He had searched months of data, chased leads across towns, and felt the frustration of each dead end. Yet he had no regrets. He felt more alive now than ever. He knew tomorrow could bring the reunion. He promised. The city lights outside his window glowed softly, and Marcus whispered to himself, "We will find her." He drifted to sleep, dreams of a mother and child hugging under a bright sky. Marcus woke before dawn, his heart pounding with hope and nerves. He packed a small bag with essentials, bottled water, snacks, his phone charger, and the coat that belonged to May Chun, the one found at the restaurant, slipped into the driver's seat of his SUV, and set the GPS for the town where the restaurant stood. As he drove through quiet streets and past dark fields, he thought of Lily's bright eyes and trembling voice when he promised to find her mother. He repeated to himself that he would not give up until they were reunited. When Marcus arrived at the restaurant, the sun was just peeking over the rooftops. He walked inside, showing the staff a photo of May. The owner, a kind man named Roberto, nodded and led Marcus to a small coat rack near the back door. There, hanging beside his own coat, was May's jacket. Marcus touched the worn fabric gently, could feel the shape of the life it had known, the long walks, the chilly nights, the weight of worries carried inside its pockets. Roberto told Marcus how May left the coat behind one rainy evening and returned the next morning, tears in her eyes, to retrieve it. He said she hardly spoke and left without a word. This was the closest lead yet. Marcus thanked Roberto and asked if anyone had seen May after that morning. Roberto frowned and shook his head. He said a local delivery driver told him that May and Lily got into a blue van parked outside. The van had no company logo but looked old and worn. That detail gave Marcus a new direction. He snapped photos of the coat and note of the van and climbed back into his SUV, determined to find the van's owner. He drove to the address where the delivery driver said he parked the van. It was a warehouse at the edge of town. Marcus parked and walked toward the large metal doors. A security guard greeted him with suspicion. Marcus introduced himself gently and explained why he was there. The guard consulted a logbook and found an entry, a blue van owned by a local handyman named Diego Martinez. Diego used the van to help people move or carry supplies. Marcus located Diego's contact in his phone, called and left a message explaining who he was and why he needed to talk. He waited on a bench in the warehouse yard, watching the sky shift from pale gold to bright blue. He pictured Lily hugging her mother again and felt a rush of urgency. An hour later, Diego arrived in his blue van. He wore a paint-stained cap and heavy boots. When he saw Marcus, he slowed and rolled down the window. Marcus showed him the photo of May. Diego's face softened. "Yes," he said, nodding. "I remember them." He invited Marcus into the van, which smelled of oil and fresh wood. On the seat next to him lay a small backpack. Diego said he helped May and Lily load some boxes of clothes and a few toys. They asked him for a ride to a shelter in the next county. He agreed, charging them only a small fee. He dropped them off at a women's shelter and handed May a business card with his number. He never heard from them again. Marcus felt a surge of hope. He asked Diego for the shelter's name and address. Diego recited it from memory. Marcus thanked him and climbed out of the van. He drove the 3 hours to the shelter, watching the road curve and the land change from fields to suburbs. He thought of Lily in her foster home, waiting anxiously for news. He checked his phone. No new messages. He pushed them aside and focused on the road ahead. When Marcus arrived at the shelter, it looked small but welcoming. A sign out front read Hope Haven Women's Shelter. He walked inside and explained to the receptionist that he was helping Lily find her mother. The receptionist called the director, a woman named Helen. Marcus waited in a quiet room filled with chairs and brochures. His palms felt sweaty. "Ow!" Clutched May's coat like a talisman. Helen appeared, her eyes kind and tired. She led him down a hallway lined with doors. She paused before one and knocked softly. A voice answered, "Come in." Helen opened the door and motioned Marcus. Inside, the room was plain: a small bed, a dresser, a window looking out on a garden. On the bed sat May, her back to the door, folding laundry. When she heard Marcus's voice, she turned. Eyes widened when she saw the coat in his hands and the photo on his phone. For a moment neither spoke. Then tears filled May's eyes. She stood and wrapped her arms around Marcus. She buried her face in his chest, trembling. Marcus gently guided her to a chair and sat opposite her. He placed the coat on the bed and showed her the photo of Lily. May's hand shook as she reached for it. "Is she safe?" she asked, voice breaking. Marcus nodded. "She's in foster care. She's okay, but she misses you every day." May covered her face with her hands and cried softly. Marcus called the shelter's staff to arrange counseling and stable housing for May. He promised to cover all costs and to keep the arrangement private so she could start anew without fear or shame. Helen whispered her thanks and stepped out. May wiped her tears. "I thought I lost her forever," she said. "I was afraid to face my mistakes." Marcus leaned forward. "Your daughter needs you, and you deserve a chance to be her mom again." May nodded, determination growing in her eyes. That afternoon, Marcus left the shelter and drove to the foster home where Lily lived. He carried May's coat and a small bouquet of daisies, Lily's favorite flower, according to Sarah, the social worker. The sun was high, and the city hummed with life. Marcus rehearsed his words, how to tell Lily that her mother was found and safe. When he arrived, he asked to see Lily. Sarah led him to a playroom where children built block towers and played board games. Lily sat at a small table, drawing a picture of a tree and a house. She glanced up when Marcus entered. Her eyes widened at the sight of him holding the daisies and the coat. Marcus knelt beside her. "Lily," he said softly, "I have someone very special for you to meet." Lily looked at the door, her pencil frozen. The door opened, and May stepped inside. Lily gasped and dropped her pencil. May knelt and opened her arms. Lily ran into her mother's embrace, burying her face in May's shoulder. May's own tears fell freely as she hugged Lily tight. The other children watched in silence, and a teacher wiped her eyes. Marcus stood back, watching the reunion. He thought of every step that led him here: the charity event, the promise in the park, the long nights of searching. Now, here was the moment he had dreamed of. After a few minutes, May beckoned Lily to sit beside her. They held hands and talked quietly. Lily showed her mother the drawing she made. May listened and smiled, then gently corrected Lily's pencil lines. They laughed together, their voices light and full of relief. Marcus handed them the daisies. Lily smiled up at him and said, "Thank you for bringing my mom." Marcus's heart swelled. He knelt and kissed the top of Lily's head. "Welcome," he whispered. Over the next hour, Marcus met with May and Sarah to plan the transition. May would stay at Hope Haven for a few more weeks while she attended counseling and job training. Then she would move into a small apartment near Lily's foster home, where visits could continue until Lily returned home. Sarah arranged for Lily's schooling and care to remain consistent. Marcus promised to fund any extra needs, from therapy to school supplies. As the afternoon lights softened, May and Lily walked toward the door, hand in hand. They paused and turned to Marcus. May smiled through tears and said, "I can never thank you enough," Lily added. "You're my hero." Marcus felt his eyes sting. He smiled and waved. "Take care of each other," he said. After they left, Sarah thanked Marcus again. He shook his head. "It wasn't me," he said. "It was Lily's wish. She reminded me what really matters." Sarah smiled. "You gave her hope." Marcus nodded and stood. He walked out of the foster home into the cool evening air. He looked up at the sky as stars began to appear. He felt a new purpose rising in him, a mission to reunite more families and heal broken hearts. Driving home, Marcus realized that today was not the end of the journey. It was the beginning of his new life's work. He thought of Lily's laughter echoing in the playroom, May's tears of joy, and the simple power of love that saved them both. He knew there were many more children waiting for miracles, and he vowed to be there for each one, with or without a promise of money. As his SUV glided through the city streets, Marcus smiled to himself. He went to sleep that night with a light heart and a clear mind. Somewhere in the city, a mother and daughter were building their life together again, and in Marcus's heart, a new chapter had begun, one where he used his fortune not just to give toys, but to restore families and embrace the true meaning of generosity. The first weeks after the reunion were a time of small joys and new challenges for May and Lily. May woke each morning to the sound of birds. Outside her window in the small apartment near the foster home, the walls were bare except for a few. Drawings Lily made: trees, smiling suns, and two stick figures holding hands. May hung the pictures over her bed and smiled each time she saw them. They reminded her why she had to keep moving forward. Lily arrived at the apartment every weekday, morning before school. May prepared oatmeal with fresh fruit, and they ate together at the small kitchen table. Lily told her mother about her lessons, her new friends, and the drawing she made for art class. May listened, nodding, and asked questions. She wanted to know every detail. After breakfast, May walked Lily to the bus stop, carrying Lily's backpack and holding her hand. When the bus came, Lily waved and May stayed until it drove away. Even when tears rose in her eyes, during the day May attended counseling sessions at Hope Haven. She sat in a circle with other women who had faced hard times. They shared stories of loss, hope, and healing. May talked about the day she left home and the guilt that had weighed on her ever since. The counselor taught her ways to manage stress and rebuild trust with her daughter. May practiced breathing exercises and wrote in a journal. She wrote letters to Lily, promising to be the best mother she could be. Marcus Bell checked in often. He called May to ask how she was doing and brought groceries or books for Lily. He never stopped by unannounced, respecting their new privacy. Instead, he sent Carla, his assistant, with fresh flowers and small gifts, puzzles, storybooks, and art supplies. May felt grateful for the kindness but worried she might become too dependent on Marcus's help. She dreamed of standing on her own. May found a part-time job at a small flower shop down the street. The owner, Mrs. Alvarez, was kind and patient. She taught May about different blooms and how to arrange bouquets. May loved the colors and the soft scent of each blossom. Working with flowers lifted her spirits. She arrived early, arranging fresh roses and daisies in vases. She greeted customers with a genuine smile. Each sale meant May earned a bit of money and felt she was building a future for herself and Lily. Lily thrived at school. She rode the bus each morning with a bright smile and waved at May when she got off in the afternoon. Her teachers noticed her improved mood and focus. Lily seemed lighter, as if a heavy cloud had lifted from her heart. At art class, she painted a picture of a sunny park, with a mother and daughter swinging together. She left space in the painting for Marcus, drawing a small figure on the side to show her thanks. On weekends, May and Lily explored the city together. They visited the library, choosing books to take home. Lily picked fairy tales and stories about brave children. May chose gardening books and novels that reminded her of hope. They sat in the children's reading corner, May reading aloud while Lily listened with wide eyes. After the library, they strolled through a nearby garden filled with roses and lavender. Lily skipped ahead, laughing when she saw butterflies. May watched her daughter's joy and felt her own heart bloom. Despite these happy moments, May's past fears sometimes crept back. One evening, as she tucked Lily into bed, Lily asked, "Will you ever leave me again?" They paused, her hand on Lily's shoulder. She knelt beside the bed and looked into her daughter's worried eyes. "Never," she promised softly. "I am here to stay. I will always come back to you." Lily clutched her teddy bear and nodded, but May could see tears glisten in her eyes. She kissed Lily's forehead and held her close until she fell asleep. In counseling, May worked on her confidence and decision-making. She told the counselor she worried she did not know how to be a good mother anymore. The counselor reminded her that mistakes do not define a parent. What mattered was love, honesty, and effort. May practiced saying kind words to herself in the mirror. "I can do this. I am enough." Day she grew a bit stronger. One afternoon, May returned from work to find a note on her kitchen table. It was from Marcus's dinner tonight. Treat May hesitated. She wanted to prove she could handle things without his help, but she also knew she needed support. She texted back, "Thank you. That sounds nice." That evening, Marcus met her at a cozy neighborhood bistro, greeted her with a warm smile, and introduced her to the manager, who offered them a private corner. They shared pasta and talked about May's progress. Marcus praised her for finding a job and caring for Lily. May felt proud, but also shy. Over dinner, Marcus asked, "How is Lily's art class going?" May pulled out her phone and showed him Lily's painting of the park. Colorful strokes and nodded. "She's talented," he said. May smiled. "She is. She's also brave. I learn from her every day." They spoke until the restaurant lights dimmed. When the check arrived, Marcus paid, but May insisted on covering the tip. It was a small gesture, but to May it meant independence. Marcus agreed with a gentle nod. Back at home, May reviewed Lily's school calendar. There was a field trip to the city zoo in 2 weeks. Lily was excited and asked if May would come as her chaperone. May worried about taking time off and affording the ticket. The next morning, she called Marcus and explained. Marcus arranged for 2 adult tickets and transportation. When Lily heard the news, she hugged her mother tightly. "Thank you for coming," she whispered. May squeezed Lily's hand and said nothing would keep me away. On the day of the field trip, May stood at the school gate, holding a backpack. "And a camera?" Lily ran up and waved the ticket. May tickled Lily's side, and they joined the group. The zoo, they saw lions yawning and elephants splashing in water. Lily laughed as she fed carrots to the goats. May watched Lily's joy and took pictures she would print later. When the group paused for lunch, May sat beside Lily and shared sandwiches. Lily told her mother every detail, from the red panda's climb to the flamingo's one-leg stance. May listened, feeling her heart fill with warmth. That night, May printed the best photos and pinned them to the wall beside Lily's bed. There was a picture of Lily hugging a baby giraffe, Lily smiling among a flock of penguins, and Lily holding May's hand as they walked along a path. "These are our memories," May said, pointing to each photo. Lily nodded and added more stickers to the border. May turned off the light and watched Lily drift to sleep, the photos glowing softly in the lamp's light. In the weeks that followed, May and Lily settled into their new life. They found routines that worked: homework after school, flower arranging. On weekends, bedtime stories by the window. May's confidence grew. She learned to budget her earnings, opened a savings account for Lily, and joined a local mother-daughter group. She shared her story, and other mothers praised her courage. May realized she was not alone. One afternoon, Marcus dropped by with a letter. He handed it to May and smiled. "A gift from someone," he said. May opened the envelope. It was an acceptance letter from the community college's job training program in floristry. The letter said she'd been awarded a scholarship from Marcus's foundation. May's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Marcus, unable to speak. He placed a hand on her shoulder. "You deserve this," he said. "You've worked hard." May nodded and hugged him. "Thank you," she whispered. "I will not waste this." That evening, May told Lily the news. Lily jumped up and down, her ponytail bouncing. She threw her arms around May. "You're going to school?" she exclaimed. May ruffled Lily's hair and smiled. She held Lily close and thought of how far they had come from the day Lily waited in line for a bike to this moment of hope. As the sun set, May and Lily sat on the small balcony, sipping hot cocoa. The city lights twinkled below. May pointed to the horizon. "Look at those lights," she said. "Each one is a story, and ours is just beginning." Lily leaned against her mother, smiling. May felt a deep peace. She had found her way back to Lily, and now they walked forward together, stronger than ever, in the quiet night. May whispered into the darkness, "I will never leave you again." And in her heart, she knew she meant it. The days that followed felt like a gentle sunrise, each one bringing new light and promise for May and Lily. Their mornings began with the soft chirping of birds. Outside their window, May would wake first and watch Lily sleep for a moment, admiring the peaceful rise and fall of her daughter's chest. Then May would tiptoe to the small kitchen to prepare breakfast, sometimes warm oatmeal with honey, sometimes pancakes shaped like heart sand, placed 2 bowls side by side. When Lily patted in, still rubbing sleep from her eyes, May greeted her with a smile as bright as the morning sun. Lily's grin in return was the sweetest reward May could imagine. Their routines had fallen into a comforting rhythm.
After breakfast,
May walked Lily to the bus stop, holding her hand and pointing out flowers blooming along the sidewalk. "Look, sweet pea," she would say, "these tulips came out just for you." Lily learned the names of the flowers, and sometimes brought wild blossoms home to press in her little scrapbook. May tucked them between sheets of wax paper, and together they labeled them with the date and place. The scrapbook became a treasure trove of memories. The red tulip from their first morning together, the daisies from Marcus's gift, the lavender sprig from their city garden stroll. At night, they found joy in simple rituals. They read stories beneath a blanket of soft pillows.
oh,
May using different voices for each character, deep and gruff for the bear, squeaky and sweet for the rabbit. Lily giggled until her ribs ached. After the story, they shared their thoughts before sleep. "What was the best part of your day?" May would ask. Lily often answered with small wonders, "When Mrs. Alvarez showed me how to water the roses just right," or when Miss Carter told me my drawing made everyone smile. May shared her own highlights too. The smile on your face when you saw your field trip photo, or the feeling of arranging daisies at the flower shop. These moments of reflection grounded them, reminding them that happiness grew from tiny seeds of gratitude. Work and school continued to bring their own challenges. May balanced her part-time job at the flower shop with evening classes at the community college. Sometimes she felt exhausted, her muscles sore from lifting pots, and her mind heavy from studying. But each time fatigue threatened, she pictured Lily waiting for her at home, and she smiled through the weariness. She told herself that every petal she arranged, every note she studied, was for Lily's future. Lily, in turn, took her schoolwork seriously, knew her mother was working hard, so she could grow up in a safe, loving home. Lily stayed after class for extra help when she needed it, and she brought home books about science and art, eager to share her discoveries with May. One afternoon, May arrived home to find Lily practicing the piano. The soft notes of Twinkle, Twinkle floated through the apartment. May paused in the doorway, tears in her eyes at the sight of her daughter's dedication. Lily spotted her mother and waved. May clapped softly and sat on the couch. Lily played the song again, this time with more confidence. After she finished, May hugged her. "You're growing every day," she whispered. "I'm so proud of you." Lily beamed and settled in her mother's lap. Together, they talked about music and the possibility of buying a small keyboard of their own when May saved enough money. As the seasons turned, autumn leaves painted the city streets in shades of orange and gold. May and Lily took a weekend, a trip to a nearby park known for its fall colors. They packed sandwiches, thermoses of hot cocoa, and a camera to capture the moments. Hand in hand, they wandered along leaf-strewn paths, crunching under their boots. Lily collected her favorite leaves, one curled red leaf, one bright yellow star-shaped leaf, and May pressed them gently between the pages of her journal. They paused by a small pond where ducks glided on the water. Lily threw bits of bread to them, laughing as the ducks quacked and paddled closer. That evening, back in their cozy apartment, May and Lily hung fairy lights around the living room, creating a warm glow against the cool autumn night. They sat together on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, and looked through the day's photos. Each image told a story. Lily's laughter as she fed the ducks, May tracing leaf veins with her finger, the two of them posing under a big oak tree. They picked the best photo, a picture of Lily tossing a leaf high in the air, and framed it. On the shelf above the fireplace, below it, she placed a small plaque engraved with the words, "Adventure Together." Winter arrived, with soft snowflakes drifting past their window. May woke early one morning to find the world blanketed in white. She roused Lily, and together they bundled in coats, scarves, and mittens to build a snowman in the front yard. She shared one carrot for the nose and 2 shiny stones for the eyes. Then they made snow angels, laughing as they lay in the cold, their arms and legs moving in wide sweeps. Back inside, May warmed them with hot chocolate topped with whipped cream and marshmallows. Lily's cheeks were rosy, and May's heart soared at the simple magic of snow. During winter break, Marcus invited May and Lily to a charity gala, celebrating families reunited. Marcus greeted them warmly as they arrived at the event hall. He introduced May and Lily to other families who had found hope through his foundation. Lily listened to their stories, some about parents finding jobs, others about children excelling in school, and she felt proud to be part of this community. At one point, Lily tugged on May's coat and whispered, "I want to share our story." With May's encouragement, Lily stood on a small stage and spoke into a microphone. Her voice was clear and brave. "My mom and I were lost, but now we're together. Marcus helped us find each other. I want to help other families too." The audience applauded, and Lily's smile lit up the room. "Hey?" May hugged her daughter, tears of pride and joy filling her eyes. As spring approached, the days grew longer, and flowers began to bloom once more. May graduated from her floristry program with honors. She wore a cap and gown in a small ceremony at the college library. Marcus and Lily cheered as she received her certificate. May's heart brimmed with gratitude for everyone who had supported her, her teachers, her classmates, and especially Marcus, who believed in her when she doubted herself. After the ceremony, Marcus surprised her with the keys to a tiny florist shop he had helped restore. "It's yours," he said. "A place where you can share beauty with the world." May stared at the keys, speechless. Then she turned to Lily, who jumped up and down in excitement. May hugged them both. "Thank you," she whispered. Opening day at the florist shop was a bright Saturday morning. May arranged bouquets of lilies, roses, and daisies in the window. She placed a small sign that read, "Bloom and grow florist wear. Every flower tells a story." Lily stood proudly beside her, handing out flyers to passersby. Customers admired the shop's warmth and welcomed May with kind words. As the kaleidoscope of petals caught the sunlight, May felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had built this life from scratch, guided by love and determination. That evening, May and Lily walked home under a sky painted pink by the setting sun. They stopped at a bench overlooking the river. Lily hugged her mother's waist and looked up. "I love our life," she said softly. May knelt and held Lily's face. "Me too, sweetheart, me too." They sat together, listening to the water's gentle flow, surrounded by the promise of tomorrow. Inside their apartment, they placed a final photograph on the mantel, the picture of Lily and the baby giraffe, now framed in a golden border. Below it, another plaque read, "Home is where the heart blooms." May and Lily stood back and admired the wall of memories they had created together, from pressed flowers to framed photos, each piece a testament to their journey. As the night settled, May tucked Lily into bed. Lily yawned and whispered, "Thank you for never leaving me." May stroked her daughter's hair and kissed her forehead. "I will always stay by your side, always." Lily smiled, closed her eyes, and drifted into sleep. May stepped into the hallway and paused at the doorway. She looked back at her daughter, peaceful and safe, and felt a swell of gratitude. She thought of the day Lily spoke those simple words, "I don't want money. I want my mom," and how that moment had changed everything. May realized that true wealth was not measured in dollars, but in love, hope, and family. She closed the door softly and walked to her own room, heart full, ready to meet whatever tomorrow would bring together. With her daughter, hand in hand,